Every single day, Americans pour 40 billion gallons of fresh water onto their suburban lawns. That is an ocean of expensive resources producing exactly 0 calories of human food. Why are we draining municipal water supplies just to keep non-native, ornamental grass green? We blindly stare at these manicured empty yards while our monthly grocery bills quietly double. But what if that exact same patch of dirt could become a living, breathing food engine? Right now, the commercial supply chain is cracking under the weight of diesel costs and cross-country transport. Yet, hiding in plain sight is a biological loophole that completely bypasses the supermarket. It requires no synthetic fertilizers, no tractors, and only a fraction of the space of a traditional garden. By stacking 2 specific ecological forces together, you can literally print clean protein and fresh vegetables simultaneously. This method yields up to 10 times more produce per square foot than commercial soil farming. It is a silent, automated ecosystem that runs entirely on its own byproducts. The giant agricultural conglomerates know this logic works, but they simply cannot patent your backyard. Today, we are going to convert a fraction of that useless lawn into a closed-loop food island that feeds your family for years. Most backyard gardening guides focus on dirt and fertilizer. They completely miss the actual biology happening underwater. When Dr. James Rakasi pioneered modern aquaponics at the University of the Virgin Islands, he did not invent a new piece of plumbing. He formalized a permanent biological negotiation. This arrangement relies on 3 living actors working in a strict, unbreakable alliance. For example, a single mature tilapia requires an exact colony of microbes to survive its own waste. You are not assembling machine parts. You are drafting a peace treaty between species. The first actor is the fish. They provide the raw energy. Fish consume, feed, and expel waste, which instantly breaks down into ammonia. Inside a standard 50-gallon glass aquarium, ammonia is a ticking time bomb. It burns their gills. It makes the water smell toxic. Pet owners spend billions of dollars globally on chemical neutralizers just to battle this exact compound. But in this biological alliance, ammonia is not a flaw. It is the absolute currency. We actually want it. The second actor enters the negotiation: nitrifying bacteria. These microscopic brokers colonize the wet clay pebbles in your grow bed. They thrive on the exact toxin that kills the fish. The bacteria consume the ammonia and chemically dismantle it. First, they turn it into nitrites. Then, they instantly convert those nitrites into nitrates. Nitrates are harmless to your fish, but they happen to be the exact high-octane fuel that leafy greens crave. The third actor closes the deal. Plant roots hang directly in this nitrate-rich water. They absorb the nutrients, stripping the nitrogen out completely. Once the plants drink their fill, the water flows back down to the fish tank, perfectly purified. This entire exchange operates on a strict schedule. A simple water pump runs on a 15 minutes on, 45 minutes off timer. This 15/45 rhythm guarantees the roots get flooded with liquid food, then exposed to raw oxygen. The fish feed the bacteria feed the plants clean the water. Most backyard tutorials celebrate independence the moment the water pump turns on. Yet as long as you drive to a local feed store to buy 50-pound bags of commercial tilapia pellets, your food supply remains completely tethered to global shipping routes. You are merely outsourcing the weak link. To genuinely sever ties with commercial agriculture, you must produce the fish's diet on site. The first half of this diet grows right on the water's surface. Lemna minor, commonly known as duckweed, operates as one of the fastest growing plants on Earth. If you scoop a handful of duckweed into a shallow, 10-gallon sunlit tub connected to your main water line, it will double its entire biomass every 48 hours. It absorbs residual nutrients and provides a perpetual, zero-cost source of fresh green carbohydrates for your fish. The second half of the diet completely eliminates your kitchen trash. The ultimate protein factory is not a coastal fish meal plant in Peru. It is the black soldier fly. When you toss spoiled cabbage leaves or brown banana peels into a dedicated compost bin, black soldier fly larvae devour the rotting organic matter at an astonishing rate. These larvae convert raw kitchen scraps into dense biomass containing exactly 40% pure protein. By feeding these larvae directly to your tilapia, you essentially transform yesterday's kitchen garbage into tomorrow's fresh fish fillets. However, heavily feeding your fish creates a harsh physical reality that basic online guides completely ignore. Microbes only process dissolved ammonia. They do not eat solid fish waste, uneaten larvae, or shed scales. When a standard submersible pump forces solid debris straight up into your clay pebbles, it physically chokes the plant roots. Within just 3 to 4 months, this trapped debris creates a toxic layer of anaerobic mud. It blocks oxygen, breeds harmful hydrogen sulfide gas, and slowly suffocates your entire harvest. You do not solve this physical blockage with expensive chemical cleaners. You solve it with basic fluid dynamics. Before the dirty water ever reaches the plants, it must pass through a swirl filter. This is a simple 55-gallon cone-bottom barrel where water enters from the side at a sharp angle. The water spins in a continuous circle. Centrifugal force pushes the heavy, solid waste to the outer plastic walls, where it loses momentum and drops safely to the bottom of the barrel. Only the crystal-clear, ammonia-rich water rises through the center pipe to feed your vegetables. You eliminate the anaerobic mud entirely, using nothing but the physical rotation of the water itself. Standard backyard setups in the United States share one critical vulnerability: the power outlet. If a storm hits or the local grid fails, your entire food production halts within minutes. We spend hundreds of dollars on submersible pumps just to force water to climb against the earth. We are essentially using fossil fuels to fight the law of gravity. But on the island of Oahu, ancient architects solved this without a single wire. They utilized the ahupua'a. This land division ran from the mountain peaks all the way to the coast. It was a wedge of productivity. Fresh spring water flowed from the heights, moving purely by the natural pull of the landscape. It first passed through terraced fields of taro plants. These massive root clusters stripped away sediments and excess minerals. By the time the water reached the lower elevations, it was perfectly conditioned for the loko'aia. The loko'aia were immense fish ponds built at the shoreline. Here, the nutrient-rich runoff fed vast populations of native fish. No one carried buckets, no one used a motor. The entire cycle was powered by the constant, reliable energy of topographical elevation. The difference in height provided the pressure. The slope provided the transport. You can do the same thing in a modern backyard without living on a volcano. Instead of placing your fish tank and grow beds on a flat concrete patio, look for the natural gradients of your yard. A simple 6-inch drop in elevation allows you to move hundreds of gallons of water using almost zero electricity. You can replace a standard 50-watt pump with a tiny 5-watt solar unit that only needs a few hours of daylight. In some designs, you can even use a small wind turbine to lift water to the highest point and let the earth do the rest of the work. You stop being a mechanic and start being a landscape engineer. True independence is not having a better pump. It is having a better relationship with the ground beneath your feet. Winter is the silent killer of most outdoor food setups. In cold weather states like Ohio or across northern Germany, a single hard frost can turn a thriving garden into a frozen cemetery. Most people assume the ice simply kills the leaves. The truth is more direct. At 0 degrees Celsius, the beneficial bacteria in the water essentially go into a coma. The plants starve to death long before the frost actually touches them. You can stop this by using a fundamental law of physics. Water has a specific heat capacity that is exactly 4 times higher than air. This means liquid water is far more stubborn about losing its temperature than the atmosphere is. A standard 300-gallon fish tank is not just a place for your tilapia to live. It is a massive biological battery weighing exactly 1 ton. If you house this setup inside a simple greenhouse, that 1-ton block of water absorbs every available watt of solar energy during the daylight hours. Even during a cloudy afternoon in January, the water is soaking up heat. When the sun sets and the outside air drops below freezing, the water begins to release that stored warmth back into the space. This exchange keeps the air immediately surrounding your plants 3 to 5 degrees Celsius warmer than the night air outside. You are not just growing food, you are building a physical shield that keeps your family's dinner alive while the rest of the neighborhood is buried in snow. You use the mass of the water to trick the seasons. This is how you produce fresh greens in the dead of winter without paying a massive heating bill. You let the physics of the water do the heavy lifting for you. You do not build an aquaponics setup just to save a few dollars on weekly groceries. When you remove soil from the equation and let fish provide the nutrients, your harvest accelerates. You end up producing a massive surplus. This surplus completely changes the financial reality of your backyard. The exact same water that grows your family's dinner can also generate a secondary income stream that rivals a part-time job. Local restaurants and premium grocery stores struggle to find consistent, chemical-free produce. Your system provides exactly what they are looking for. Because your operation does not use synthetic pesticides or commercial fertilizers, it often meets or exceeds the strict standards for USDA organic certification. You can sell specialty microgreens like arugula or radish shoots directly to local chefs. A small tray of these nutrient-dense greens easily sells for $4 to $6 at weekend farmers markets. The protein is just as valuable. Fresh, locally raised tilapia fillets command a premium price. You can sell them directly to your neighbors for $6 to $10 per pound. When researchers studied small-scale urban aquaponics operations across the United States, they found that a well-managed setup, one smaller than a two-car garage, can generate annual revenues between $3,000 and $10,000. This is not a hobby. This is a functional micro-farm operating right outside your kitchen door. Yet, the ultimate value of this biological alliance rarely shows up on a spreadsheet. In our modern culture, children are completely disconnected from the origin of their food. They see vegetables wrapped in plastic and assume meat just appears in a freezer aisle. When you construct this living loop, you shatter that illusion. You create a permanent biological clock right in your own yard. When a child feeds the fish, watches the water flow, and eventually harvests a ripe tomato, they learn a profound truth about physics and life. They learn that nothing truly disappears. It simply transforms into another living thing. 10 years from now, when commercial supply chains falter again, your neighbors will panic. You will simply walk outside, check the water flow, and harvest your dinner. If you are ready to stop outsourcing your family's survival to the supermarket, build the loop. Share this with someone who is done waiting. The system works because you built it to work.